Hello, my name is Stephanie Burns, and for my Out of Comfort Zone project, I did volunteering with kids who have special needs. So I went to Young Life Capernaum. Young Life Ministries is a national Christian ministry for high school and middle school students. They go into high schools and do Bible studies and hang out with kids to teach them about Jesus. Capernaum is geared towards kids who have special needs. They have weekly Bible studies and a monthly gathering where kids can hang out, play games, and dance to music, much like other branches of Young Life. So, what happens at Capernaum? I went to Campaigners, which is the Bible study portion of Capernaum. So the kids have 15 to 20 minutes at the beginning to play games and hang out with friends. They played basketball, went to the gym, and hung out. And then after those 15 to 20 minutes are up, a leader stands in the front of the group of kids where they're sitting down. Um, and the leader gives a lesson from the Bible. So this semester they were going over characteristics of God, such as God is a protector, God is creative, God is loving, etc. After the leader gives a lesson, he or she will ask questions to the group. They will then break up into smaller pairs and groups and discuss the questions. Some of the questions were: is there a time God has protected you? Who are people you feel can rescue you? That kind of thing, all to draw it back to the bigger theme. So at Young Life Capernaum, college students, so in this case, a lot of college students from UC, come and volunteer to be a buddy with the students. This helps give one-on-one attention to the students, and it takes some of the pressure off of the leaders to try and make sure every single student is being engaged. Buddies help facilitate the discussion questions, and there's usually one buddy for every 1 to 2 students, depending on the week. So when I went, I was paired up with Abby, who is a student that is nonverbal. The interesting thing about Abby is she had just recently started coming to Capernaum. So facilitating discussion questions with her was actually really difficult for me. She wouldn't usually answer my questions, or she would say a random word or a word I couldn't understand. So like I asked, "Who protects you?" And her response was cookies, or like something kind of off the cuff. So that was kind of hard for me. Um, and it was actually really easy for me to think that she wasn't enjoying herself or like didn't know what was going on. But talking to her mom afterwards, she said that she had been looking forward to campaigners all week. So that was a really cool thing to see after I had thought she wasn't enjoying it at all. So my experience with the kids, they were all just like super fun and full of life. They had like a lot of energy. And a lot of them are coming like super comfortable, just like coming up and talking to me more than I was like going to initiate the conversation with them. A lot of the kids definitely didn't understand personal space. One kid came up to me several times and just gave me a hug. I didn't even know his name. And there were several other times when I was talking to someone and I had to back up because I was uncomfortable because they were so close to me. So I interviewed, one of the people I interviewed was Abby, who is different than the girl I was paired up with. But Abby is on part-time staff with Young Life. So she attended Young Life in high school, but her college didn't have Young Life. So when she moved back to Cincinnati, she volunteered with Capernaum and later went on staff. Um, Her joy in Capernaum is trying to figure out what the kids are taking in each week, trying to know if they're understanding what is being taught. And she told me that it is one of the things that is really challenging is the breadth of abilities in the room, just because there are some kids that are super responsive and want to take notes, and other kids are nonverbal or are in a wheelchair, so they can always repeat back to you what they were taught. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not learning it. She said too that she wishes she could know exactly what they were thinking. But she loves getting to hear the stories that parents come in and tell about and tell them about how Capernaum has impacted their child's life, similar to the way that Abby's mom told us that she had been looking forward to Capernaum all week. The other person I interviewed was Avery. Avery is a Young Life leader. So she's led for 2.5 years. She is studying special ed because of how Capernaum sparked her love for working with kids who have special needs, which I think is really cool. She regularly attended as a Capernaum buddy in high school. So the thing that I did when I went, she did that through a couple years in high school. So that led her to become a leader. Um, she has loved to overcome the stereotypes of thinking that kids with special needs cannot understand or respond to what is being taught in the same way that other kids might, but realizing that they absolutely can. We also talked a little bit about how Capernaum is so different than other branches of Young Life, and it's really cool just to see how that isn't stopping anyone who is a Capernaum leader from just like pouring into these kids and teaching them and loving them really well. So this was definitely out of my comfort zone. This is the first Young Life event I had attended, and the first time I met the people who were there. So that was enough to make me pretty uncomfortable. And honestly, I didn't really want to go. But additionally, I also really don't have a lot of experience helping kids with special needs. So it was actually way more difficult for me to initiate conversations than I might regularly in something that is um, like with people who look and act the same way I do. It was difficult to keep my own stereotypes in check. I had to make sure I wasn't talking down to the kids or like interacting with them like they didn't know what was going on. And I definitely like caught myself doing that a couple times or um, kept myself in check with that. So I was definitely the minority there, which was a really humbling experience. I had to let the kids teach me in the same way I wanted to teach them, and I couldn't just swoop in and think that I knew better than they did. So I am very familiar with ministry because of my own involvement with a campus ministry. But Young Life Capernaum showed me that there are so many other ways ministry can be done, and there's so many other people to minister to, not just people who are like me. There were a lot of similarities in the way that the kids interacted with their friends, and there was a sense of community there. People were interacting and talking about the Bible very similarly to the way you might see kids without special needs interacting. The differences were the ways that they were unafraid to talk to absolutely anyone, to give a hug to a complete stranger. They also held no reservations when answering questions. Whenever a question was asked, hands shot up, as opposed to the silence after a question that is so often heard from other groups of people. This definitely did make an impact on my teaching. I learned patience. These kids helped remind me to be patient and to stay with them even if it doesn't feel like they're understanding everything right away. Um, I had to be careful to not just want to jump to the next question or to keep asking the same question, but to let the kids like really think about what I was asking them. Also, these kids had the biggest hearts. They had no reservations about answering questions or saying hello. Even though I had just met most of them, I was excited to go back the next week and hang out with them again. As a teacher, it will be difficult to make connections with some kids, or I might go in with preconceived notions. But being a buddy at Capernaum made me realize that I can leave my expectations at the door and can open my heart to all of my students. And I don't have to assume that kids aren't getting it because of the way they look or because of some of the things they have to overcome. And that was a really valuable experience for me. And I'm very grateful that I kind of got out of my comfort zone a little bit. Here are the citations to the pictures I used. Unfortunately, didn't get a lot. But that is all I have for you guys. So thanks for listening.